Milo actually wanted to go. He had already changed clothes, fixed his hair, and found the keys he always loses. Then his phone buzzed on the table, right beside the wallet he was about to grab. The message was short. "Sorry, can we cancel?" And before Milo could think, his whole body answered for him. His shoulders dropped, his jaw unclenched. The room suddenly felt bigger, quieter, easier to breathe in. He fell backward onto the bed like someone had just canceled an exam he forgot to study for. For one perfect second, he felt free. Then came the guilt. Why was this the best news he had received all day? He liked this friend. Last time they met, they had laughed until both of their drinks went warm. So if the friend was not the problem, what exactly had disappeared? 3 days earlier, the invitation had sounded easy. Coffee, conversation, maybe an hour or two with someone Milo genuinely enjoyed. In his head, the plan was just the good part. But on the actual day, the clock started following him around the room. Every time his phone moved, he looked over, secretly hoping for a message he would never admit he was waiting for. That was the part that bothered him. He wanted the plan, and he wanted it gone. Maybe Milo was not trying to cancel the connection. Maybe he was trying to cancel the shower, the outfit, the traffic, the waiting, and the whole annoying runway before takeoff. None of those things was difficult enough to explain the feeling by itself. Together, though, they turned one simple coffee into a small expedition across the city. From 3 days away, Milo had seen the destination. Now he could see the road, and the road had steps. So many tiny, completely reasonable, strangely exhausting steps. The first one suddenly felt suspiciously heavy. The closer the time came, the more real every little cost became. That did not make his earlier excitement fake. It only meant the picture had changed. The fun was still there. It was just buried under everything required to reach it. Time, energy, attention. All three were quietly asking for payment. Milo was not sitting there with a calculator, carefully building a case for staying home. He checked the route, traffic, rain, 12 extra minutes. Then, his mind played the whole evening at once, getting ready, traveling, arriving, talking, leaving, and finally coming home again. He was still on the sofa, but somehow, he already felt done. Outside, the rain got heavier, and suddenly the walk to the station felt like a personal attack. One small inconvenience joined another, and the innocent little plan slowly grew teeth. Milo pictured himself standing under a leaking shelter, watching every possible bus arrive, except the one he needed. Then he pictured his friend already waiting at the cafe, glancing toward the door every few seconds. Now, it was not just coffee. It was timing, responsibility, wet shoes, and the possibility of letting someone down. Milo was not inventing excuses on purpose. Most of this happened before he even noticed what his mind was doing. His imagination had jumped into the future and come back, carrying stress from events that had not happened. He picked up his shirt, remembered the shower, put the shirt down. Then he straightened a book that absolutely did not need straightening. For 30 seconds, organizing the table became the most important mission of his life. Then he looked at the clock, and somehow, there was even less time. He opened an old photo of the two of them, laughing together. The warmth was still there. The pressure was somewhere else. Wanting the destination did not erase the road leading to it. Then the phone buzzed, and every future Milo had imagined suddenly went silent. For half a second, the whole evening waited on one glowing screen. "Sorry, can we cancel?" 4 words, and the entire plan collapsed. No more deciding. No more bargaining. No more pretending he would definitely stand up in 5 minutes. The whole chain disappeared. Before he had even touched the first link, his hands opened. His face softened. He finally took a full breath. The relief was real. Milo just did not know what it was relief from. And that matters. Because relief is not always an answer. Sometimes relief is simply the feeling of uncertainty, finally shutting up. Before the message, Milo was not going, but he was not resting either. He was stuck in a tiny argument with himself that restarted every 30 seconds. How much time was left? Could he wait another 5 minutes? Should he get up now? Or finally admit that he really did not want to move? The cancellation ended the argument without asking Milo to choose anything. And that is why completely different needs can produce the same first wave of relief. A tired person may need rest. A stuck person may need movement. From the feeling alone, Milo could not tell which one he was. He looked at the sofa, then at the shoes, sitting right beside it. The distance was tiny. The change it represented was not. Getting up meant ending one rhythm and entering another. Even that first movement felt like crossing a border his body had already noticed, because standing up would not end with standing up. It would become shower, clothes, keys, door, traffic, conversation, and the entire journey back. Once the sequence started, Milo would have to keep answering whatever came next. The quiet evening would become a series of small decisions, each one pulling him farther from the state he was already in. Rest mode would turn into coordination mode. Sometimes the hardest part is not the event. It is starting the transition. And even after getting ready, Milo would still have to leave a world he controlled. At home, he could pause, change plans, eat, disappear into silence, or do absolutely nothing without explaining why. A meeting gave part of the evening a fixed shape before the evening had even arrived. When the plan vanished, every minute suddenly felt like his again. But that still was not the whole reason the meeting felt heavy. Milo also imagined arriving and becoming fully available to another person, listening closely, reacting warmly, looking interested even when his natural energy was quiet, choosing when to speak, what to reveal, and whether an awkward silence needed to be rescued. Most of that happened so quickly that nobody else would ever see the effort. When someone asked how he was doing, Milo had to choose which version of the truth belonged in that moment. The quick joke? The safe summary? Or the answer that might turn coffee into a 2-hour emotional investigation? He could enjoy the conversation and still spend energy showing that enjoyment. He was not pretending to care. He cared. He was simply using energy to make that care visible. On a good day, that felt easy, playful, and sometimes even energizing. On a tired day, it felt like holding several moving controls at once while trying to look completely relaxed. Some moments drained him. Real laughter gave a little energy back. But from the sofa, Milo mostly imagined the effort, not the laughter that might come afterward. Sometimes, being present takes effort, even when the person genuinely matters. The cancellation meant Milo did not have to switch that version of himself on tonight, and immediate relief is loud. Future connection is much quieter. So, what happens when the loudest feeling becomes the only signal Milo trusts? At the next invitation, his body remembered how quickly canceling had worked before. It had been the shortest road from pressure, indecision, and effort to immediate calm. And the shortest road becomes tempting when it keeps delivering exactly what it promised. But one peaceful minute cannot predict the emotional shape of the rest of the night. Immediate emotion has a very narrow view. Sometimes Milo canceled, slept, ate properly, and slowly began to feel like himself again. Those were the nights when rest actually did its job. Other times, he stayed home but never really arrived at rest. He moved from the bed to the sofa, from one video to another, and kept checking the conversation he had escaped. The outside pressure disappeared, but regret quietly moved into the room. And because Milo never started, he never learned whether the resistance might have faded after 10 minutes. His mind collected proof that canceling worked, while learning almost nothing about what happened after beginning. That did not mean Milo should force himself through every invitation. That would miss the point completely. Rest can be necessary, but repeated avoidance can also make the next beginning feel larger, heavier, and more unfamiliar. Both paths can start with the exact same beautiful sense of relief. The difference often appears later in recovery. Regret, connection, or the size of tomorrow's fear. Relief was useful information. It just was not a compass. Milo needed a better question. Do I need rest, or do I need a smaller first step? A few days later, the same friend invited him for coffee again. Milo said yes. And as the hour approached, the familiar heaviness returned right on schedule. This time, he mentally removed the shower, the traffic, the clock, and every annoying step before the meeting. If his friend could appear in the room right now, would Milo actually want to talk? The answer came quickly. Yes, he really would. Then he imagined two canceled evenings, one that restored him and one spent wandering around the apartment with regret. Tonight, he was not empty. He was resisting the beginning. So Milo asked one more question. Could the plan become smaller? He messaged his friend and suggested a quick coffee somewhere nearby. His friend agreed, and the giant plan shrank into something Milo could actually approach. The hesitation did not disappear. Milo did not suddenly become fearless, disciplined, or magically excited. He simply stopped imagining the whole evening and put on one shoe, then the other. At the cafe, his body stayed tense for a moment, as if it had not received the update yet. Then the conversation began. A familiar joke landed. Milo laughed, and slowly, the rest of him arrived too. Sometimes you do not want to cancel the person. You want to cancel the pressure around them. Next time relief arrives, pause before judging it. Ask what disappeared, the connection or the pressure.